afternoon. I am conscious of being one of the Maltese speakers in this event, and I hope I will live up to the expectations. Okay, I'm going to go through some questions which will help me pass on some of the history and the messages that developed around us in the last 3 years. We have been analyzing decentralized and autonomous organizations for a long time, at least since 2016. Laws were enacted here on regulation of the technology in 2018, and there's a draft law on DAOs which is on the table, but has never been actioned, at least not for now. So the first question, where? We certainly are aware that the internet is not a place. And the problem for lawyers is when you don't have a country, you don't have a legal system to go by. So the first issues that we have to grapple with here is that every country has its own laws, and that everything we're going to do in relation to technology on the internet is going to clash with the differing groups of laws in the different countries. So, this creates a major, major challenge to dealing with the issues and how law applies to the new technology, because it lives on the internet. So once no legal system can regulate all the activity on the internet, and global harmonization is, a pipe dream, we're not going to see that ever. There's too much baggage in sovereignty of different countries. We have to ask where does that leave us? And we have major, major uncertainty all around us, and this is the problem we've all been facing. So, you as operators, us as lawyers trying to find a solution to your requirements have this issue. So the world won't solve it, but we have choices. And we can solve it for ourselves now by actually choosing to anchor the activity in one legal system. In other words, you can actually choose a legal system which will provide you with the answers and then work globally. And this is the dynamic of the competition in a way in terms of legal innovation, legal development, and sensitivity to solutions of the industry. So selecting a legal system is going to be a major, major challenge because every country in the world is at a different stage of development in terms of various issues relating to innovative technology, blockchain, AI, and so on. It is not common to find what is happening in the European Union, where you have a regulation being developed for 30 countries at a go, like in the MiCA regulation, where suddenly we're going to have one set of laws coming out for the whole of Europe. So you have to be very, very careful when you are looking at a legal system, because that is going to determine the environment in which you are going to operate. Why should we do that? The answer is basically certainty. All our activity, everything we do, is being regulated by laws all the time. You have people, you have law. And we need to know which law applies to what we do. And we need to know that carefully, because that is what determines our existence, our liability, and so on. So we have to be very, very careful what we choose in terms of the law applicable to us. The law certainly gives us a lot of tools to do things, how to work, and it also comes in with an enforcement power, which enables people to react when there is a breach of law or there is fraud, because the law gives us remedies. Now, that is obviously a double-edged sword, because it applies to us as well, so we obviously have to be very careful in what we do. It allows us generally to do things in a regulated manner, in a manner that is predictable, and in a manner that third parties can rely on us as well. So, having a good, sophisticated legal system which establishes the right standards of behavior is very, very important. And for instance, in Malta, we actually passed a law on regulation of blockchain in 2018, which set up standards of quality assurance relating to software. This didn't exist anywhere in the world at the time when it was being enacted, but it certainly sets a standard. And obviously, software arrangements are no different, because they are part of the interpersonal relationships we live with. And the tools that the law gives us have been determining the history of the world for a long time. And A couple of examples I can give you is the emergence of limited liability companies, which allowed for much more economic growth, or legal organizations, which we've had, coming from the Middle Ages right up to today. There's a history and a pathway for everything we see around us. And law often is what makes things change. And now we are facing a new technology which is coming out with smart contracts and DAOs, which are major, major challenges. In 2017 to 20, we debated personality for technology arrangements. Fairly controversial. Should DAOs be regulated? Should there be mandatory insurance? Could DAOs go insolvent? And should we segregate the software from the activity? And how are we going to keep them alive beyond the group of people who set them up and launched them on the internet? The existing laws that we have did focus on very important aspects, like quality assurance of the software, and what happens if it fails. So we've already got models in our law as to what we should do to deal with the issues that are facing us today. And the draft law was prepared, which we called a DATO law. It was a Decentralized Autonomous Innovative Technology Arrangements Act. And these would be registered in a public registry like all other legal organizations and be totally transparent in terms of information. And this is a bit of a snapshot of what the law would do. It would give personality. It would solve the problem of liability because it focuses liability onto a legal entity, which would have insurance and other funding. It would solve the problem of capacity in terms of entering into contracts. It would be easier to raise finance because security could be provided. And the main asset, which is the software, would be protected from attachment or insolvency. Because at the end of the day, all the users on a DAO would have their assets and their data embedded in it. You can't close it. You can't make it disappear, So it's a critical point that we have to build on. Who can play this game? Large and small countries, there's no issue. The internet has no square mile area, and it doesn't look at population volume. So Malta, as a microstate, could actually participate in the discussion and could actually make contributions to it. And we've started with something which in 2018 was very, very new. The European Union in the MiCA regulation is actually developing the model which we launched in 2018, which I say with a certain amount of pride, obviously, because a small country often is not constrained by the thinking patterns existing in very large ones. So which strategy do we have to adopt? Clearly, collaboration. No country can do it on its own. We're not insulated from the rest of the world. Although it's on the internet, the internet spans many, many countries, so we have to collaborate. Secondly, we have to all be open to new ideas. These are needed now more than ever because we have major, major shifts in the circumstances. We must be forward-looking. We can't wait for things to become obvious. We have to take some risk, take early actions, even if not perfect, and then go forward later, build them into more sophistication. What strategic priorities should we follow? Malta chose regulation first. Education has to follow very quickly. Equal opportunity and accessibility for all must be on the agenda to avoid monopolies and disparities that we are seeing in our financial system. What's the vision? The vision has to be positive because technology needs to come to the assistance of humanity, basically. Power and money never did that. Power and money has created massive disparities, massive injustices, and so on. So we have to be careful what the vision is. Tools that the legal system gives can be double-edged, and certainly we have to choose the right tools because there are many, many dishonest people around the world and getting into this area. And clearly, a common good vision is going to be critical for all the world, basically, but certainly for any country going ahead with agendas such as ours. So thank you for listening. That was the story coming from Little Malta, and I hope you enjoyed hearing it. Thank you.